possibly what is still pending. Happy Independence Uganda once again, and of course we will dedicate some time to look at what independence, whether independence still means a lot to Ugandans, and of course looking at what has been achieved and what is still pending. Of course, when we cross the borders, we'll also look at the Israeli war. What is taking on the international news is the Israeli counteroffensive military operations in Gaza Strip, where for now, like 5 days, Israel is pounding the Gaza Strip, reacting to that offensive that was made by the Hamas on Saturday morning, and the Palestinian militant group killed more than 700 Israelis. As we speak now, the death toll looks to be around 1,300, which is really a very big thing. Very unfortunate. And finally, we'll be looking at the conduct of MPs in Parliament. It has again bounced back. The issue has bounced back into the limelight following the incidents we witnessed this week, when female MPs were up in arms with one member of Parliament, specifically Honorable Francis Zake, Mityana Municipality MP, who allegedly defamed one Lakai woman MP, Honorable Juliet Chinyamatama, and it all culminated into the issues being sent to the Committee of Privileges and Discipline, Rules, Privileges and Discipline, and we'll also be looking at whether there is anything wrong with the conduct of the members of Parliament. And I have to introduce the panel right away. Dr. Jared Were Wanzara, public and policy researcher, is already in the studios. I'm happy to host you once again on the show.
Thank you very much, my host Apollo. Good to see you, smart as always.
Wow.
Good morning to our viewers. We are really happy to be here. By the grace of God, we are here to interact with you again on the dialogue.
Wow.
And to my fellow panelists on the right, the Honorable Mugole, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jared Were Wanzara. I think you'll have a comment on our president acquiring a stick, a walking stick, on independence, on the 61st, Uganda's 61st independence anniversary. It's my pleasure to introduce Honorable Stephen Mugore, the Member of Parliament for Kabweri County, a trade unionist. Welcome back to the dialogue.
Thank you very much. First of all, for the invitation, but also for the topics selected for this dialogue.
Wow.
I think it will add value to the nation. Our discussion, I suppose, is going to be enriched.
Thank you.
By, sometimes we get some people who call in. These are all matters of not only national, but international importance.
Indeed.
So the three topics selected, I think, are very important for this dialogue.
Thank you. Kabweri?
Kabweri, I greet you. I'm very sure a number of you should be watching me. This telecast is important because I think I'm here not only because of being an astute trade unionist or whatever, but also being a member of Parliament. And being a member of Parliament was only done by the people of Kabweri. So I thank them ever for making me a member of Parliament, and I think I'm serving them well.
Wow.
If there is any comment, I'll welcome it. I thank you, and good morning.
Thank you so much, Honorable Stephen Mugore, and we expect to be joined by Charity Imsibe Kalebo, a human rights activist. We will miss Richard Baguma, and of course he will join us next week. But before we kick off the show, we will briefly go through the highlights in President Museveni's speech at independence, he highlighted 8 essential ingredients of success for Uganda. He prescribed placing emphasis on politics of interest rather than identity, emancipating the private sector for wealth creation, economic infrastructure, social infrastructure, working on regional and economic and political integration, international contacts with reliable partners, eliminating corruption, protecting our environment as the key ingredients that could, of course, guarantee success for Uganda. But before we delve into what transpired on Independence Day, Richard, Dr. Gerard, talk about the walking stick of the president.
Of course, the president has inscribed it in our heads that he's a judge, and right now when he's writing in a public statement, he always signs as Judge Sabalwanyi. So given his age and longevity, for me, I didn't want to attribute it to his health, but generally, as you grow, maybe at times you need to get support in terms of a walk.
But did you watch? Did you watch? I wish we watch that clip if my producer can find it. When he was arriving at the venue, the gentleman was walking with vigor, and actually the stick looked more useless.
No, but during actually the COVID, you remember retracing the routes of NRA. The president walked here over 60 kilometers with a stick still, just support him, but he walked. If you can walk for 60 kilometers, it means you are still strong. We have so many young people of my age, after walking for one kilometer, you see them panting because of the eating habits, the pork, the beer, so
okay, Honorable, if you can make a quick comment.
I don't think he was attributing it even to his old age or health, but to the age of Uganda, that he had locked 61 years.
Okay.
And anybody above 60. So the stick was for Uganda.
Oh, yeah.
Uganda has matured. And you know, a stick biblically, it shows authority.
Yeah, true.
Shows authority.
True.
So according to me, he was showing that now Uganda has the authority. It has aged. It is now 61 years old. So it must have authority to direct.
Oh, yeah.
With that stick. That's why even when he had it, he was in fact directing the stick.
Exactly.
By just
you would rarely use it.
So yeah, that's what I suppose. It has a biblical meaning.
Yes. To me, it looked a highlight with the hidden meaning, but it looked more of not supportive to his either movements or what. Well, Dr. Gerard Wanzala, specifically, let's talk about the Independence Day losing steam, the celebrations somehow. And it happens. To me, looks like it happens every year that passes by. You expect that at Independence Anniversary, you would see people actually actively engaged in celebrations, participating here and there, and then you would even feel it. I look at I actually envy the Americans. 4th July. They really paint their country. You hear from speeches, and you really feel. You see, that is the clip. His Excellency the President arriving at the venue. But look,
basically running.
Yes. It's for formality. Anyway.
That's a gentleman.
Maybe like you said, it was symbolic.
Symbolic. Yes, symbolic for that we have matured. So Uganda must speak with authority. You can see that speed.
Okay, I was saying, Dr. Gerard Wanzala, that the days is somehow losing steam, and I think it should be a concern, because that is the time to reflect on the freedom we achieved at independence, freedom for self-rule, freedom to determine our destiny. What do you make of the independence celebrations and the attitude in Ugandans?
First of all, to contextualize this debate, I want to go back to the meaning of independence. At the time when Uganda was agitating for self-rule, there were a lot of hope. And one of the issues that Ugandans looked at was that if we can be managed by the white man in this way, being led by fellow blacks, probably we would be much, much better.
True.
So one of the key things that they looked up to achieving was self-rule, self-governance. But that was only one aspect of it. But now, for you to realize full independence, there are other issues that at play, like the economics. At that time, as you remember, that in the colonial establishment, there were classes, kind of, where you would find the whites in the civil service and politics, and then you would find the Indians in the money economy, manufacturing and trade and things like that. And then the black person was basically a producer in the farm and supplying to the Indians who were actually controlling the cooperatives and so forth. So the Ugandans thought by achieving self-rule, then this class system would be dismantled. And I can assure you that moving forward, if you see between 1962 to 1971, Uganda was just running in terms. That's the time Uganda had the most advanced economy in the East Africa. It is in the books written that Ugandans at that time were already producing matchbox, people were producing their own sugar, the cooperative movement was very strong and things like that. And then of course Idi Amin came. I have seen his speeches where he says that this independence is nothing without economic independence, freedom. And so his so-called economic war, which he launched, leading to the expulsion of the Indians, was that to bring, to Africanize the economy. And partly, it partly achieved, brought some African people in the business sector. But also it was sectarian in a way that if probably you are not Muslim and probably you are not a Mafuta Mingi, a Nubian, you wouldn't get the opportunity to get that business. So at the end of the day, we went back diving into our small groups. But of course, at a macro level, the expulsion of the Asian community led to the collapse, and then the sanctions that followed led to the collapse of the Uganda's economy.
True.
And then you find that the coffee trade, for instance, which was very organized, ended up the Kenyans benefiting through smuggling of our coffee, because now people went underground. The economy became an underground economy where a few people would smuggle, and so that's why you hear that by the time the UPC2 government came into place, we did not have the supplies in place. Sugar disappeared, salt, people, and then some people were politicizing distribution of those products. So we see that there were attempts to bring a mixed economy. Private sector both started, but in a short while he was overthrown. And President Museveni, of course, with the liberalization, following the liberalization policy, we saw that the economy was re-kick-started. And then we started seeing the growth and so forth. Now today, if you see that many Ugandans are not really involved in independence celebrations, like you saw quite a number of them, shops are open, they act like nothing is going on. Right now, for me, what I'm seeing is the issue of inequality in terms of economic inequality. I saw Bank of Uganda statistics recently that show that only 1% of Ugandans are earning above 1 million shillings. The rest are there. Yes, if you go to NSSF, for instance, only 2% are above the 100 million.
But we have
mark.
others who are super rich.
Exactly. Only 2% are above the 100 million savings. Then when you look at the statistics in the banks, you find that we are 47 million people, but only bank accounts we have about 5 million, meaning that many of the Ugandans are outside the money economy. I was looking at the Human Development Index days ago. It is ranking Uganda as the 20th most backward country in the world.
20th.
At least we are better than some of these French colonies like Chad,
like
Niger, Guinea-Bissau, and so forth. But given our good climate, some of these are in the desert. Given our good climate, our good soils, given the young population that we have, we should be doing better. I was looking at the issues to do with food insecurity, that 16 million Ugandans are not able to feed themselves, 16 million. And then when you look at issues of mental health, about 14 million people are mentally ill in Uganda. Disorders, largely because of the hardships in the cost of living, people having problems, and therefore you are seeing a situation where there's a small class somewhere and very happy, and the majority think they are left out. And today, if you want to see independence celebrations, I think you only go to Lira. Why? Because of the Obote, the history connected. But the rest of the country, people don't appreciate. And then the other is that there is a lot of division in society, politically. When it comes to us not having free and fair elections, violations of human rights, you find that, and then a lot of misinformation by the leaders. So you find at the end of the day that the population is moving to the right and the leaders are moving to the left. So therefore the independence turns out to be maybe an NRM function and not a national function. When I was a student in China, the independence celebrations used to take 1 week. Actually, it was a holiday for 7 days, because people resonate with what is going on. They have seen they saw before 1949. They have seen the transformation the People's Republic of China has gone through, and then you find that the government constantly either apologizes or promises and says that without an economy, the country will be destroyed. You see efforts to try to fight corruption by jailing people and strengthening laws and so forth. But here we lament, like
so you highlight income inequalities and
the politics,
disunity in politics of this country, to why the independence celebrations in Uganda,
the poverty, the hunger,
are actually losing steam.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jedore. I will come back to you, but let me take the pleasure to welcome Charity Ahimsibwe, human rights activist and the executive director for the Electoral Laws Institute. Welcome to the dialogue.
Thank you very much, Apollo, and a very good morning to all our viewers. I'm happy to be back in the studio.
Good. Well, let's go straight to Honorable Stephen. Are you concerned that the Independence Day celebrations every year that comes keeps losing steam, anyway, if I may ask you, is it true?
The answer is yes and no. It loses steam because of what we have been doing. As a country, we have been having the Independence celebrations only in Kololo, in most places. Effective this year, that notion has changed, that it is going to move throughout the country, just like other public holidays are done. So you could see that it's lost steam in Kampala, because this time it was not in Kampala, but there was a hype in Kitgum.
But it is a national event and
yes,
a very important.
I'm coming there. So the issue is, on top of what the researcher, this was, I have seen what he has analyzed, is well-researched information. What I could add is the role of social media. By the time the day comes, the theme is known, all the ministers have spoken about that issue, the information is already among the people. So they are yearning to see nothing on that day because almost everything has been put to the public. I suppose that that is one of the reasons as to why.
Honorable Mugore, leave alone what people expect to see, but the enthusiasm in the citizens, in the nationals, as they celebrate independence, do you really find it in Ugandans?
Yes, some of them. Let me say most of them. Why? You see, two things have happened. Which anniversary is this? This is the 60th anniversary.
61st.
61st anniversary. So, the number of times you celebrate a similar thing. Also,
I talked of America.
Yeah.
Really, America is 1775 when they had their independence.
and you think the hype is as the
And
same
they
as they used to
still, you mean, I mean, that patriotic,
be? I don't suppose so. Even the China, where Dr. Werike had said, they no longer celebrate for 7 days, as they used to do. You see, the role of social media is very important in this. It can demystify a number of aspects. When I was growing up during the Obote's regime, Independence Day, everybody expected many things to happen, and they would make certain pronouncements on that day. These pronouncements are not made because they are done even before the Independence Day itself. So it loses.
but they award medals and
Yes,
other things.
the families that are going to receive the medals, they are the ones that are there. And the medal awarding also lost steam because of the number of people who are given medals on that particular day. We had even resolved that they should scale down. And in fact, they have tried to scale down now. The other time you could find 400 people receiving medals. Now it has scaled down a little, but we still think it should scale down. What I was trying to tell you that the answer is yes or no is yes, as long as it starts moving around the country, the steam will come back.
All right, okay.
Yes, because that area, that region, which is receiving all these dignitaries during Independence Day, they expect something. They know their goods and services are going to be sold during that time, during that week, because the Independence grounds obviously host a number of activities before, during, and even after the function. In Kampala, where we have the Independence Day always, you know that even in the voting pattern in the city, the government does not get as much votes as it gets elsewhere. However, whereas Independence Day is for the entire nation, it has been, like he said, politicized. Somebody says if it is the president going there because I'm in opposition, I'm not going for the celebrations. So that is a key factor. So if you found Independence Day going into an area which supports government, the sitting government.
But you must admit there must be reason as to why these opposition politicians shun such a national days.
Yes. And from time immemorial, even during Obote's regime, we used to have a woman called Mama Kerere, who would come and chant only UPC. So somebody who is not for UPC would feel offended to be on a function.
Actually, that has been an allegation that the national days have turned into NRM days.
Yeah, and for Dominion, for me who is in NRM, I find no problem with it, but the one who is not in NRM finds offense. But for us, we want Dominion. We have to.
Okay.
Yes.
But you must be concerned that the numbers keep dwindling of the number of Ugandans who celebrate Independence Day.
Yes. The more the people become educated, the more they take such days as very important.
Thank you. Charity, I think you start from there. You tell us what you think, whether this should be a concern to Ugandans as Independence Day, as important as it is, keeps losing steam every year in, year out.
So I think I want to agree with Dr. Werike that Uganda's independence no longer makes sense to Ugandans. Ugandans are no longer warming up to independence because of a number of factors. Number one being poverty. If you go to the countryside and if you look at the Yugo statistics, despite having been changed over a period of time, they still indicate poverty levels which are very high. The president himself went to Mayuga, and I like this one because when he got to Mayuga and saw the level of poverty, he said, "Oh my God, how can you be this poor?" He, the president, asking the people. I found that very funny. The president is commander-in-chief of this whole country. He knows, and I mean, he superintends over Uganda and should be able to know who is poor, who is rich. And he gets to a place and he's shocked. There are people who even have jiggers. And he's saying, how are you in Uganda in the 21st century and you're this poor? He's asking himself. And Ugandans are saying, our own president is asking us. See, a Ugandan cannot get out of poverty without programs that are actually getting to them. We've seen NADS, we have seen all these programs that government has brought, and they are only taken by a few who belong to the ruling party or within power circles or have connections to those in power circles. But until the question of service delivery is sorted by this government to the ordinary Ugandans, then warming up to Independence Day celebrations is a far wish. Okay? Until Ugandans feel they are happy in their own country. I have met citizens in this country who are saying, I want to sell my citizenship. The moment you see a citizen saying, I want to sell my citizenship, they're fed up.
But if there is a willing buyer, then that means that citizenship has value.
Of course, they are willing buyers. Rwandese can buy Ugandan citizenship. Congolese can buy Ugandan citizenship. And the reason why Congolese would buy Ugandan citizenship is because for them they are always running. There is bullets flying all over their heads. I'm sure people in Beirut would also be happy to buy Ugandan citizenship. But without derailing me from what I am trying to push, you see, Ugandans also have a problem, and I'll come back to that problem. But let me stick with the fact that government has to deliver on its part. It has to deliver services. The Ugandans have a problem in a sense of saying that, you see, whether government has delivered service for you or not, you remain the Ugandan who you're talking about. The question of how am I a citizen and do I live by my responsibilities that are that are enshrined in Article 16 and 17 of the Constitution, because the Constitution states what a citizen should do. So when
the duties of a citizen.
Yes. So when you paid your taxes, what did you do? Did you follow up? Did you understand what they're being used for? No. You just paid your taxes and went home and sat. Are there people who are not working, who are not inspired to even work? They stay in their beds from morning to evening. I see very many young people that I'm trying to say, you come do this for me, and they can't do anything. You have to keep pushing people. Even people who have degrees and you're expecting them to deliver a certain way, they're not doing it. So until Ugandans learn that also me, I should increase my skill, I should innovate more, I should network more with people, because that's the only way you're going to benefit from your own country.
All right.
For example, we also have the question of tourism. The other day, a question was put to me by MBS, where have you been in Uganda? And I first sat down and I said, oh, where?
Domestic tourism.
Domestic tourism. They asked me which place have I gone to and slept in, and tell you what, I have been to a lot of places in Mombasa, I've been to a lot of places in Tanzania. I can say them off my head for holiday. But in Uganda, I started to think, I've been to.
So you are also part of that group that is so
So you're not independent.
So I was also guilty. Okay, I was guilty, and that's what I'm saying. That as a citizen, we also have certain duties that we must fulfill, and we must be able to do them to promote Uganda as a country. And we will not expect government alone, because who is government?
It's us.
It is us, with the people. So if we believe in the Constitution, and if we believe in the words that that Constitution gave, and I have heard people saying, I wish the colonialists had stayed a bit of time. And I said, yes, there is that argument, and I agree to it, although my friends in the NRM do not agree. I think I have 3 or 4 friends who told me, no, we don't agree. But this is why I agree. You see, at the time of independence, everybody was searching for their interest. Obote had interests. Uganda had interests. At that time, Uganda was not called a federal, and was not called a republic. We went to independence as a state, a union state. We were not a republic. Now, there is a difference between a state and a republic. We later become a republic when we have the constitution of
The 1967 Republican
Yes.
Constitution.
That is when we become.
A republic.
But even when we become a republic, that constitution came to draw the powers of the prime minister vis-a-vis the powers of the Kabaka.
Yeah.
Because the two of them had been where?
And the president.
They had been in conflict. Of course, the Kabaka had been the president, but he had a lot of influence within Buganda. Now, what we need to think about as Ugandans, we need to think about ourselves as a whole.
Oh yeah, true.
Now, our history did not help us.
Yeah, true.
We went to independence when we were divided.
So we need to rediscover ourselves
Yes,
and revive that spirit of nationalism.
yes, and the government is not going to revive it for us.
True.
We are going to do it for ourselves. We're going to have to buy our national flags. We're going to have to do wristbands with our flags and know that once it is Independence Day, we are selling these things all over and we are happy to be Ugandan. Because after all, why are you Ugandan?
Yeah. I will take you back to what you said, that you want to address the problems. I want to just remind you. Do you still want to do that?
The problems that government needs to deal with.
Yes.
Part of the problems that government needs to deal with, and the first one I talked about was poverty, the second one is health. You know, in this country, people go searching for their own cut. People are saying, well, I want my own money. You know, you position yourself, you're happy, whatever, you get that cut. But you go to the hospital, guess what? It's the same hospital for NRM, for DP, for UPC, for ordinary Ugandan who has no political affiliation, and you're facing the same doctors. And those doctors, whether they're UPC, DP, or whatever, they also are treating you with facilities which are lacking. So we need to address the issue of our national hospitals. If you look at Jomo Kenyatta Hospital right now, and Kenya just took a deliberate effort to make Jomo Kenyatta Hospital livable. Go even to Tanzania, their national hospital right now. It is doing major operations again. Mulago here has some machines which are working and some which are not working. They have very good specialists. Every time they repair Mulago, we begin to clap our hands. The other day we had the women hospital constructed, and women were saying, we've been going to private hospitals, we've been cheated there, we pay 6 million just to give birth. You're paying 6 million. Think about this. How about an ordinary Ugandan who doesn't even have 20,000 to live
You go to
for the next month?
Kawempe, Kawala.
Then when you go to Kawempe, how much do you pay to give birth? Tell me, how much?
It's free.
It is supposed to be free. But do you really go away scot-free?
Yeah.
You pay
I know that you pay.
150,000.
I know that they pay.
So where is it coming from?
Thank you so much, and I like your call for that spirit of nationalism in Ugandans, and I think you're practicing what you preach. You have actually practiced what you preached in putting on that colored dress of black, yellow, and red. Thank you so much, viewers. We will take your comments right away. Go to 0701, that's the WhatsApp line. Send your comment or observation. Tell us what you think about this concern around the dwindling spirit of nationalism in Ugandans, as witnessed during the national days, like the Independence Day anniversary celebrations. And winding up, gentlemen and the lady, like Gerald, you talked about the issue of negative information. I think it is honorable. Yes, and the politicians shunning national events. Really, do you hope this will change very soon or later?
No. If let me just give an example. If assuming I'm an opposition leader, and it's a Women's Day, I'm going to hold a rally in my constituency to discuss with the fellow women, like what happened to women MPs. And then the police appear and they beat you, the female member of parliament, plus the other women in the constituency. Would I feel happy to participate in independence? So what Charity is saying is us to go to the basics. When we branded Uganda with that flag she's talking about, black, yellow, red, what does it represent? That we all bleed the same, we have the same blood. That the yellow, it's our country is beautiful, you know, with a nice climate. We're talking about black, you know, the black person, humanity, okay, and Pan-Africanism. If we are talking about the coat of arms and the national motto, for God and my country, if for God and my country is my motto, why should I steal public resources? Does God promote stealing? No. So we need to go to the basics and then we say country first. Once we redefine that, then we can move as a nation. Unity in diversity. You know, those are some of our values, even the national objectives in our constitution, that unity in diversity. We should desist from creating situations that divide the people by triggering conflict in society. Last week I was here talking about the upper land between the Madi and the Acholi. If a head of state comes up and says, this land I have been informed belongs to the Madi, instead of having a fair system that arrives at that, because the Madi and the community will always exist together. If we come to Uganda, why do we push to create revolts against, say, the Kabaka by some groups within Uganda? So by that we shall be killing the spirit of unity in diversity. So go to the basics.
All right. And I think that resonates well with the president's speech. Press emphasis on politics of interest rather than identity. And he has been speaking about it for some time. Honorable Stephen, do you think there is anything else that can be done to revive the steam and enthusiasm in Ugandans as far as national days are concerned?
Yeah, you see the universality of the current government that wanted inclusivity was very important. Before this multiplicity of parties came in, the movement, you even saw parliament during the 6th, 7th parliament, when we were still under the movement system, that everybody had the free will to speak whatever he wanted, even on the floor of parliament. There was steam in each and everything. However, there is a rekindle that can be done, because one of the main tenets of the NRM is patriotism. We can use this as tenet number one, really to encourage the steam. I have been in China severally. Every Chinese, if he's beginning a speech or a statement, he talks about China first. He knows how many people live in China, he knows that state and whatever. I think this should be a curriculum within schools or whatever of patriotism, in order for people to have real
I think patriotism classes started long ago.
They did, but
like 10 years ago.
there is need
No,
for
not 10 years. We used to have civics in
civics,
the
which is
primary.
not
We
there.
used to-
Primary
it's
school.
not-
we
no
no
longer.
longer don't have civics. It was a very important subject. People needed to know what Uganda is. My sister here has been speaking that she has been to Mombasa, Tanzania, where, forgetting that there is Makshen Falls, top of falls, the only falls within the world here where no rafter has even passed. Very important places to be, but within this country. So the patriotism within ourselves also, I think this needs classes. We need public rallies about this, so there is enthusiasm among the people about their country.
Thank you so much. And finally, Charity, you said it all, but do you think it is possible now, considering the current circumstances, to revive that spirit of nationalism in Ugandans?
Ugandans are going to have to make a deliberate choice to decide whether they like their country or they don't like it. You know, it's not the government that litters the roads when driving cars. It's not them who sit in there and throw banana peels across. It's not them who throw polythene bags in wetlands. It is us. So the choice of whether we want to stop that as people who choose. In the past, there used to be what they used to call obulungi bwansi. And it used to be driven through kingdoms. So can we have the kingdoms also play their role? Can we have religious leaders coming back? I remember that for us at All Saints, every time we went to pray, the Henry Luke Orombi was the Archbishop at that time. And that whole time, once October 1st clocked, he would sing the national anthem as a matter of order. He would say, stand up, we sing the anthem. You know, there are times we would say, but also him, why is he making us sing the anthem? But you know, after knowing that he made it a tradition when he was Archbishop. And we sang it for the whole month. And he would say, pay attention to the words. Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. Can you feel the words?
That is how you cultivate that's the spirit of nationalism.
Yes. Wow. So you imagine if all churches decided to do the same in the month of October. So by the time it is 30th October, even the child who didn't know about this anthem might begin to understand why it is important for them to know why God needs to uphold Uganda and why we have our own values. As a country, we also have our values, we have our tradition, we have things that we stand for together. And until we get to that point of where we realize that even if we abuse this country, even if we abuse the leadership, even if we do what we are
here, remains our country, our homeland.
We are here, we're going to produce children here, we'll have grandchildren here, our great-grandchildren will be here. And so abusing is not going to solve the problem. But contributing to making it a better place, even under difficult circumstances, because yes, the circumstances have not been made easy by institutions like the police, institutions like that.
They have actually exacerbated the situation.
Yes, because
some of
they have caused more hopelessness. But even when they have done that, we should look for a silver lining. A few small things
Thank
that
you.
we can do.
That is very good. And he says, good morning. Apollo, this money being wasted on that day should be used to give us better service delivery, because it lost meaning long time ago. The moment it was turned into one of the NRM days to eat, watching Independence Day celebrations, I rather watch CNN the entire day, because it's always going to be the same thing year in, year out. It is his opinion, and he says the only thing that changes is the year. Or actually that money should be used at least to construct the first AFCON pitch, otherwise we shall miss out because of the infrastructure. Otim Major Joel in Chirinya, thank you so much for your comment, and we really love your contributions and observations. At one point, I remember the former president, the late president, John Pombe Magufuli, suspended the independence celebrations, and he decided that the funds should go to public health services, cleaning the hospitals, cleaning and facilitating hospitals. I don't know your take before
actually, I don't even think that he really suspended, but he changed how he spends that budget to make independence more impactful society. Because what he did, he would address from State House, address the nation, and then he gets the budget and puts it to healthcare and things like that, or to promoting sanitation. And everyone is cleaning markets and cities, and he would lead from any front. So by that, all Tanzanians would be involved, and so it would make meaning. But also, and
they will actually see tangible results from
what he was doing. And sometimes to change these things, they must be deliberate actions. You don't have to, like I saw the president crying on Teachers' Day, saying, Katonda abalaba, I told you to grade the teachers, such that they can be paid according to their seniority. Up to now, nothing has happened. And I saw the first lady with his wife was sitting there, the Minister of Education. So we don't have to lament on everything.
So one quick comment, Honorable, because I think we should not dismiss Joel's comment, because you think the money that is pumped in this day can cover up for some inadequacies anywhere in the service.
It's the day, just like a night before independence, the president gave a speech on 8th. So if it is one of the ways, but how much money is spent? How much money is spent? Yes,
Yes, now
apart from that,
the big gazillers that
Yes.
went to Kitugu on that day.
whether they are going or not, they are spending money which is already allocated to them within a year, or within a month, or within a budget.
I know.
And that is not part of the budget that on Independence Day.
Now,
It is the money, whether it has gone or not, the money will
Richard,
but before the comment I would say that
make it quick.
that like President Magufuli, it can be possible here, but for the purposes of inculcating
Yes.
the patriotism and the enthusiasm of independence to be known, that this year's independence, the monies we would use, we are going to use it for Burunji Wansi.
Let me give you a quick.
And the president makes a speech on 8th October, and then on 9th we say everybody in this country, it is a public holiday, let us go for
Let me give you a quick
Wansi.
citation of some events that are organized by the kingdom here. You know the cancer run?
Yes.
The cancer run, because people
Even
know.
Kabaka's run.
Yeah, Kabaka's run actually.
A number of them.
Because people know that they actually put in money, people themselves, to buy those kits.
Yes.
But because they know the monies are going straight either to
To
build
the
the cancer
kingdom.
ward or
Yeah.
what. Because usually that is where the money goes. The people participate, and they participate in thousands and tens of
Yeah,
thousands.
just like if he has talked about AFCON. You see, we are having NAM, but we are now just struggling quickly to finish up some structures in order to host NAM in January.
Yes.
AFCON, we, as Parliament, we have debated it, but he has brought an issue. Supposing on one day, public holiday, we say all Ugandans, we want at least one field to be fixed.
Because actually, sports is one sector.
Yes, which brings
that
everybody together.
breeds patriotism, and you see
You'll
people
find
really love
that
their
you'll
country.
find that everybody will be willing to contribute because the money is going to a specific issue.
Thank you so much. And Charity, before you make a concluding remark on this topic, someone, Richard from Kasese Border, sent me an illustration of what Uganda is, and it is a chair full of thorns. I will pass it on to and you can't believe it. But that is it, and I think, and me, I'm happy. I'm happy that these national days are being now on a rotation basis, organized on a rotation basis. Why? Now that we are going to either Kitugum or Karamoja, and we have to take these delegates, foreign delegates, to that place.
Yes.
Let them go and see what is there. Possibly they can advise us on how to make things better. I don't know if you pick anything from that. One final comment as well.
I think my final comment was that when the president was in Kitugum for this national
At least we do a clean-up before we organize an event in that place. We patch here and there, then that will benefit the
It
community.
is tourism for that area. Whenever you
He asked, what does corruption mean in the local language here? And they told him
Chamchana.
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 And for him he said, ooh, chamchana.
Chamshana in Nyango is lunch.
Yes, and by the way, that's the corruption. The one we knew from childhood. I by the way, I got impressed. That even this was
The
called Chamchan.
president laughed, ooh, chamshana. That you're going to eat chamshana. But you see, at the end of the day, he was able to communicate with his people. He has been here for a very long time, but there are people who do not even know him. And I think that that exposure then gives a chance to Ugandans to get to interact with him when he moves across the country. But something else needs to also happen for ordinary Ugandans to connect with this day, beyond just moving it across the country. I think NRM should be deliberate on inviting all people of all shades.
No, there is for this
national-
particular event, I think it was communicated. I saw that communication that they invited everyone. I mean, on the side of the opposition and
yeah, they
cultural
should
leaders.
they should just leave it
All those
open
opinion
for the
leaders.
public. and just say it is a Ugandan day, it's not
It's a
an
national
NRM
event.
day.
Good.
Okay, the distinction should be clear,
But-
such
but
that
the-
the proprietors and promoters of NRM can also
The thing
understand
is,
that there are people of different
the claim
shapes.
is not about invitation. It is usually about what is done and
At
said
the
on
function.
that day. That has been a source of animosity. I mean, the cause of animosity.
No, it's
among the
not what
students.
is done and said on that day. I think the cause of animosity really is the question of service delivery and the question
Thank you.
of lack of services. But we can also think that issues like cooperatives can be thought about on days
Revival of
like,
cooperatives.
Yeah, on days like Independence Day, things that were done in the past but helped ordinary Ugandans. Let's see which one.
Thank you so much, Charita Himsibwe, and I must thank those that are actually sending in messages. I can see many messages are coming in, and I can assure you we will read those messages out because those are your observations. And we'll go for a break. When we return, we'll be looking at the war in Israel and briefly, and again move on to the concern now in the public. The conduct of members of parliament has again come into question. Let's go for a break. This is The Dialogue, and we'll be right back.
Soul Television, Femunyo.
Welcome from the break. This is The Dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo, and in the studios, Dr. Jared Wehere-Wanzara, a public policy researcher. We have Honorable Stephen Mgole, Kabweri County MP, and an astute trade unionist. We have Charita Himsibwe, the Executive Director for the Electoral Laws Institute, and she is a human rights activist. Looking at the big stories in the week, we have looked at the Independence Day celebrations, which continues to lose steam. But let me read these messages before we cross over to another topic. Good morning, panelists and the country at large. My name is Okia Calvin. The biggest problem we have as Ugandans is that we have promoted hate instead of nationalism.
Correct.
We have intentionally become lazy, even to do the things that would help us to change our livelihoods, because we hate NRM and government. We need to embrace government programs and work hard, because there is no government all over the world that can provide all needs for its citizens. Ugandans need mindset change other than looking at political affiliations. Thank you so much, Mr. Okia Calvin. Thank you so much for the message. Let me quickly look at another message here. Morning, I am Mwanguzi. I am happy for the development you're doing in your district at large, MP Mugole. The reason I ask why independence is losing steam is because only big people in government enjoy this country, but people in up country don't benefit from this celebration, but only for rich people to enjoy. Thank you so much, Mwanguzi. And Mwanguzi first appreciates Honorable Mugore for whatever he's doing. What are you doing, Honorable Mugore, in the constituency?
Serious issues.
All right.
You want me to explain?
No. Let's quickly.
It may not be
It
part
may not
of this
be
program.
Let's quickly go to the war in Israel, and you can keep on sending those messages, because we gave the whole hour to this topic about independence because it is a serious concern. We want Ugandans to revive that spirit of nationalism. Independence Day is a very important day for the nation, celebrating freedom, reflecting on the achievements, and of course, looking at our destiny. Let's switch again to Israel, and I'll be asking Dr. Jared Wehere-Wanzara to tell us what he thinks could be unfolding in that war. Big powers are coming in, are stepping in. The war in Ukraine, at the beginning, we thought it won't affect us here as Africans or Ugandans, but it directly affected us. What do you think about this war?
First of all, on the effect of the war, like you are saying in relation to Ukraine, when this broke out last week. The reports were that the oil prices shot up by 4%. And since, you know, apart from this oil we buy directly, there are commodity exchanges and so forth that are affected in terms of the movement of prices up and down. So the impact is unpredictable. It depends on how long the war will take and probably which actors may join the war. But looking at the war itself, it's not something that is really going to be easy to solve, because I saw some Ugandans, I think, even marching in support of Israel. And to them, this is the Israel of Jacob, Abraham, and Isaac,
David,
and Abraham and Isaac. But if you check in the olden days, the Israelites the Jews used to move, and at some point they were conquered by the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and so forth. They have always been conquered and defeated. So prior to 1947, the Jews did not have what you would call a permanent home. Yeah. A number of them were distributed in Jordan, in Palestinian land, in Syria, and therefore Israel, as we see today, did not exist, but the Jews were everywhere. So I don't know whether it was by God's design, I don't know. But some of them went and were in European countries, in Poland and so forth. And you remember that in the World War, Hitler wanted to finish them. Yeah. So, but there was a strong movement, which was called the Zionist movement, which campaigned globally, that at least the Jews needed a country which they also call home. So based on a UN resolution, Israel was created, a resolution was passed in 1947, and in May 1948, Israel was created, and the people landed there, about 650,000 people from around the world, and those who were living within the Arab states. So basically, Palestine existed, but Israel as a state did not exist. So it was created. But following its creation, a number of neighbors reacted, and there was war. Jordan, Syria, and so forth, name them. Now, in 1967, where we talk about the 6 Days War, the Arab countries, including Egypt, planned and they attacked at the same time. Unfortunately, they did not get the results, and the war ended with Israel defeating all of them and capturing, extending its territory and occupying Palestinian territories in the West Bank and Gaza and the Sinai belonging to Egypt. So, following that, radical groups emerged, like the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the Fatah, and you remember Uganda is always representing. Remember President Idi Amin participated to help Yasser Arafat take hostages and bring them to Uganda, and Israel attacked us in what many call the 90 minutes at Entebbe. So these militant groups were really hostile, of course branded terrorists, but some of them over time, they loosened grip and decided to talk. Like Yasser Arafat, who was at first branded a terrorist, later on was recognized as the president of the Palestinian Liberation Authority and negotiated. You remember him and Prime Minister of Israel, Rabin, signed an agreement and of having a two-state solutions, but also based on the 1967 borders. Unfortunately, we have radicals on all sides. So in Palestine, we saw the Hamas coming up. And Hamas was so hostile to Fatah because Fatah now was taking
the lead of Palestine.
Dialogue approach. The Fatah do not believe in Zionism. Actually, they don't believe in Israel existing anywhere. They believe all
that is their land.
Is theirs, Palestinian land, and there should be no question about this. And according to the 1947 UN resolution, there are other areas like Jerusalem that were supposed to be neutral. Jerusalem was supposed to be an international city for all citizens
on both sides.
But following Israel's attack, the East Jerusalem was taken by Israel. And so we had extremists in Israel also who killed actually the prime minister who signed the peace agreement,
Oh, yeah.
the other side. So at the end of the day, for me, I would think that this would be solved if we went back to the UN resolution. Unfortunately,
Doctor, the UN has been watching. This is not the first time conflicts are erupting between these two neighboring countries. Anyway, Palestine is still not recognized as...
No, the challenge is that the UN itself cannot enforce anything. It doesn't have an army. It depends on the army and
but
police of member countries.
They should go back.
The resolution.
Oh, revise
If
them.
there are any talks, they could go to the resolution which
Even
was
President
made in the
Museveni
UN.
suggested two-state solution. Why have they not, taken it up as a solution? Why has it failed?
Fundamentalism.
That's the challenge, because now if you negotiate with Hamas, who don't believe in the existence of Israel at all, they also actually
Fantastic.
their ideology is very radical. They don't believe in Zionism. They don't believe in anti-Semitism. So theirs is destruction of Israel and establishing a Palestinian state based on Islamic principles.
Okay.
So negotiating with such a group is very, very hard. Now, that's why when you go to West Bank, you will see that the Fatah, which is ruling the West Bank, is very calm, even amidst provocation of Israel, because Israel has gone establishing illegal settlements in the Palestinian land, the West Bank. But they are coexisting.
If I may ask you, has Israel ever accepted the two-state solution as a solution to this problem or this conflict?
Israel accepts the biggest problem of contention are the
militants?
borders. The
Oh,
borders.
borders. Okay.
Unlike extremists. And also there is the influence of global leaders. Like we saw Donald Trump when he became president, he decided to say, let me transfer the embassy of the US to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. That is a provocation. And then because maybe at times it's influenced by elections home, that if he pushes it there, then he will get support of the evangelical movement in the US.
Okay, so finally from you, do you think this is going to end soon? Because according to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, looks like Israel is out to finish the Hamas.
It is very hard. You know, radicalism breeds radicalism. Like, if you look at Gaza Strip, okay, Israel has always invaded Gaza. And you know that the people of Gaza have lived under siege for the last 16 years.
Yeah,
They cannot travel. The Israelis are controlling the air, the water. I'm even shocked that they were attacked by water, land, and sea, because they have put a blockade that people cannot relate either with Egypt. Actually, they are closed. They cannot fish beyond a certain, Palestinians cannot fish beyond a certain distance. Getting jobs, you find raw materials to make, say, some things have gone up to 300% in terms of cost. So you find 20, 30 people living in one house in Gaza, and they have no clean water. Clean water.
Thank you so much.
They also have an issue that needs to be sorted.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. Honorable, what do you make of this war? Because in the beginning I made a justification that you may think the war is in Europe like we thought of Ukraine, but it directly affects us here.
We are living in a global village. A war anywhere is a war everywhere. Once there is a war, because when we are even talking of this independence, there is no country which is independent of the other. We are interdependent. There is a lot of supplies we get from Israel.
Yeah.
Fruits, a number of them, fertilizers. And once they are at war, we are directly affected. So on that front, we shall be affected. Whether the war will end soon, that is not probable. These two, whereas one doesn't want to believe that the other is a state, they have always been at a state of war permanently because of what transpires between the two states. That said, the fundamentalism in both countries causes this. Why Netanyahu is back as the prime minister? Because he's part of the fundamentalism. It's very difficult for you to win and sustain the premiership of Israel if at least you don't shoulder some of the fundamentalism in you. Now, who are the Hamas? Hamas is just an Islamic resistance movement.
Yeah.
It is an Islamic resistance movement. So these,
Militant group.
I mean, and it's a group. It is not the head of state currently of Palestine, but like if they are Islamists, like you see, we have been suffering this what? Al-Shabaab.
Al-Qaeda.
Yes, those people can do anything. So they really did havoc to Israel, and the repercussion is even against the human rights, because now if Israel is indiscriminately killing, cutting off water for the children who were not involved in bombing, that is a human rights issue. And I am certain that the powers that be will still come in to ensure that there is some sanity.
Other people think that Israel has a justification for this counter-offensive as huge and violent as it is, because they were provoked first. Now they are paying their aggressors in the same currency.
Yeah, the justification is really real. One, if you attack me and I lose 700 citizenry, they are not only 700 in one day. That attack is heavy, and in order to give comfort to your citizenry, the statements...
But that becomes an eye for an eye.
The citizenry has to be comforted, and the comfort is that in some of the retaliation, but the retaliation should not go overboard, indiscriminate retaliation, because for you have a state. The people who have bombarded you are almost stateless.
Yes.
They are not even the leading government officials of Palestine, but they have claimed it is us, the Hamas, who have caused this havoc. And you are saying that this time we finish the war. It is what war are you finishing?
They are going to finish the Hamas.
You can't. You may not finish.
Charity, where do you think this war is going?
The war is going global. You see, I think Dr. Weri here started by talking about the resolution, the UN
resolution that created Israel as a nation.
And
1940.
the US is governed by rich Zionists.
Oh.
They are the major players in the United States. They have a lot of money and wield a lot of influence. There is a student of law at one of the universities who tweeted and supported the Palestinians 2 days ago. They have ordered the rich Zionists that the student is taken out of the university. Number one, he can't conclude his degree. Number two, that he's never employed anywhere as a lawyer.
That's how powerful they are.
That is how powerful they are. This is a student who tweeted and said, no, why are you killing these Palestinians? For what?
For what?
And this mass level of killing, for what? The Zionists ordered, and they have stopgapped everywhere, and the university had to get rid of the young man. Now, so when you see that war, and when you see what he told you about Trump, and when Trump came and shifted the US embassy to Jerusalem, you see, in America, Jerusalem and Israel are the holy city of God. And they've told you, almost like the whole world, Christianity lives
Yeah, not
there.
only in America, but in Christianity.
In Christianity.
Jerusalem is the city of God.
Of God.
So even here, that is why you saw the Christians allying with Israel. Because they believe that those are holy people. But you saw the statements that came out from the Palestinians. The Palestinians said the original Jews are in Palestine. And actually the biblical Jews are in Palestine, because they were saying, like he gave the historical perspective, they've been moving around the globe. And at one time they were supposed to be settled in Uganda.
Karamoja.
And so the question was, where were the Ugandans going to go? Who cares? Ugandans would be exterminated, and they put the Jews here. That was the thought of that time when the resolution was being made in 1947. So the question then becomes, where are we headed with this war? This war is a worldwide war. The Honorable said, we are one globe, we are one village, and it is true. Christians live across the whole world. So the efforts,
don't you think if, wait a minute, don't you think if this war takes that direction, anyway, it may have taken it already, of Christians versus Muslims,
yes,
then it will escalate and become violent and
yes,
huge.
so
It
it
can,
has
if not-
taken a religious angle. It has, and from the beginning, because when they attacked Israel, they went enchanting. But remember also that it was a small group of people who believe in jihads.
Okay.
Okay, they believe they are fighting a war for the prophet, a holy war. Now, what needs to be done is strategic dialogue. I don't even know how the dialogue is going to work, because Israel says we have to fight this war, we have to kill them in thousands,
And finish Hamas.
and Israel is not going to relent on that.
Until it's stopped.
Yes, until they see thousands dead.
That is what I want to ask you, the panelists, in just 3 minutes. Some people look at Israel acting in impunity, with impunity. And looks like even the big powers, like you said, are behind Israel, and there are very many human rights violations that will be committed in that war.
That are already being committed.
Already being committed.
Cut off power, cut
And
off
possibly
water,
Kill people,
children.
And possibly
Are they involved?
that may turn into an extermination or a genocide to cleanse, ethnic cleansing of. Dr. Gerard, 1 minute, I will make a round. One minute.
Actually, the feelings my colleagues are expressing are genuine. I went to school with some Palestinians. They carry passports of stateless people. Even when they get holidays, they don't know where to go. And 40%
Isn't that an injustice in its way?
Of course it
Lack of an
is.
identity is a big injustice.
Because these are people.
It is. And
They have their land.
Yeah, you were there.
They are there, they are settled. And the UN cannot recognize them as a state.
Why?
Before the UN came and we had the League of Nations, Palestine was there. It existed in that place. So for me, maybe Israel is talking of saying we kill the Hamas and then we weaken them to the level that we can negotiate with the Palestinian Authority.
Okay.
But otherwise, the issue of borders is something that is very, very critical.
Thank you. Honorable, your final comment? Do you don't you
The
think
Hamas-
this may escalate into a genocide or what?
It can escalate into a genocide unless the UN and whatever come in with another resolution to stop this. Because even if you say you are trying to finish a war, the Hamas is one of the groups that are fighting. It's not the only one.
There is Hezbollah.
Yes, it's not the only one.
Hezbollah is also
So
there.
you finish Hamas, but there are others. And you are thinking you are finishing, you may not finish. There will remain some debris that will again come together and be more radical now, because the hopelessness in them, they can do anything.
Thank you. I think it is what Dr. Gerard Were said. Radicalism breeds radicalism. Finally, from you, Charity.
So it's a delicate situation, this one in Israel and Palestine. And I want to say that the Palestinians, actually when you meet them, like he's saying, they are ordinary, nice people. The first time I got in touch with them is when I was out of here, and I lived with one who was very near us. He was very good to give away food, very kind. They live like ordinary people. I didn't see a lot of radicalism in him. Even when he knew we were Christians, he still lived with us.
Okay.
So I think that there are some ordinary Palestinians who do not toe the line of the radicals.
Of the radicals.
Yes.
And
even on Israel's side.
And Zionists also have some of them who feel humane
but
enough
believe me,
not to want to kill children and women.
What happens with Israel when they are going to war, they go as one.
Yes.
There is no opposition, there is no what, there is no this, they go as one.
And that is
They fight
because
together.
they were provoked. That was the biggest problem. Now there should be something to do with talking about why the provocation happened, and maybe what we normally say in communication, that there should be a framed discussion around who attacked and what was their mission. So the framing should be, it is these ones, it's not necessarily Palestinians, such that the Israelites now begin to think about it a bit differently.
All right, and talking about Israel, I recall the topic we talked about of patriotism. I saw Benjamin Netanyahu recalling reservists, old as 80. They have picked their guns, and even the young, the nursing women, they have picked their guns. They are going to war because they know it is their country they must defend. That is patriotism. Let me read through these messages. Good morning, panelists. I am Norman Twinomwezi in Rubirizi, from Rubirizi, Katerera. Independence is only for the people in power, but not for the entire Ugandans. I don't know if you people you're picking the message.
We are picking.
Now that is a sample of what Ugandans think, maybe. And another one here, he says the only country that any serious person should never start a war with is Israel, because once you start a war, you must make sure that you will go to the end, up to the end. Hamas made a grand mistake by attacking those guys.
That's true.
In my opinion, the only person who would have intervened is the US. But now they are already doing business by supplying arms. Hence, I see us heading for a third world war. What is Russia and Kiev? What is Russia and Kiev? Is nothing. What is in Russia and Kiev is nothing at the moment, since the USA is directly involved now. Let's get ready for tougher times ahead. What Major Joel? That is what I was. The US fought.
Very close.
USS Ford.
Yeah, but I've already told you that the Zionists rule the US.
Yeah.
So if you rule the US, then you call for ammunition
there is
from
a possibility
If they can get a small
world war
because of a statement and the
close off his future for good.
So a third world war is possible.
And actually,
because even in Russia, Putin is also interested. Iran, because he has Iran as an ally there.
Actually,
And
Iran,
sending his
Syria are direct allies of
Palestine
and Hamas.
Yes.
and Hamas.
Of the Hamas.
They're of Palestine, because that is Muslim land. It's religious. Now just think about Muslim,
It has
Christian.
both Muslim and Christian holy places.
Okay, he says, what I know biblically, when you fight Israel, you are indirectly fighting with God. So my advice is to tell Palestine to stop fighting. I remain Denko.
So you see, back to the
Wait a
religious.
minute.
Yeah, back to the religious, which is correct also.
So you see the position is
Because the statement,
Denko is in Dubai, I think. Yes, and he's watching. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies.
the speech the Prime Minister made is just biblical.
Netanyahu.
Just biblical, and he has now brought up the spirit of Israelites.
He enumerated all the victories Israel has achieved.
Won over the years.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, it was incredible.
Okay, let's switch to Parliament, and Honorable, you'll take the first shot. I think the reputation and integrity of Parliament is again questionable. Looking at what happened this week, Honorable Francis Zake made utterances outside Parliament, actually in Lakai district, but eventually they were brought to the floor of Parliament, and now Zake is back again to the disciplinary committee on premise of misconduct. Why has the image of Parliament and UMPs remained questionable?
Yeah, I'll answer it in this way. Number one, when you say MPs' conduct questionable, I don't think you mean all the MPs.
True.
You mean, in fact, the statement would have been, why are some of the MPs' conduct questionable? Because I was in that very Parliament. I don't think you even saw my picture being in that round. By the way, before it happened, we were as Wooked Caucus meeting with the Vice President, preparing the coming of the President next week. So as we enter Parliament, we find that there was that scuffle. What a member of parliament can ably do where he has immunity, not even to be arrested, is on the floor.
True.
Even if they would have beaten Zake, even if Zake would have died, because of what he had mentioned, the members of parliament had immunity there.
So are you misusing that immunity?
Not misuse at all. What would Kanyamatama do?
Kinyamatama.
Kinyamatama. What would she do? To go to court? Because the other one was a political question. Somebody has gone to her constituency, abused her, abused the president, abused the sitting member of parliament there too. Any other member of parliament, as a matter of procedure, would bring that matter to the speaker first in his office before it comes to the floor. I don't know whether that had been done or not. I will have to check. But the first thing is Kanyamatama or Kinyamatama?
Kinyamatama.
Kinyamatama should have gone to the speaker first to complain on what transpired. And not only Kinyamatama, even Javida, Honorable Javida.
Yeah.
Because the statements were really defamatory.
Buyamba MP.
Yes.
Javida Semwanga.
To both the president and attacking the person of the president that way. He is also incredible. What I would say is that, so there, whereas the public would say that it is a questionable thing, it is, yes, in the face of the public. It may not be in the face of the MP who is trying to answer a political question. Kinyamatama now, if I had just gone to court or what, would not get the political answer like she got.
Honorable, you say
Bring that matter on the floor.
It was not correct.
On the floor, yes and no.
And the speaker
If
accepted her,
yes,
and actually took it up to the level of
yes,
sending the matter to the committee.
Yeah, if it was wrong, squarely wrong, the speaker would have not accepted because he's the presiding officer of the. Two things have happened, and why that case. First of all, we should know the level of exposition of members of parliament. It is where professors are, and also those ones who have just got an S6 certificate. So the level of exposition and even presentation is different. But we're in one house.
Okay.
That's number one. That is why a member of parliament is elected and brought to parliament, but without scrutinizing what he or she can do. Okay. This is a Zake, Honorable, who had just won a constitutional court case.
Against the speaker.
Against the speaker. And his matter is very sensitive. Very sensitive. He has played into the speaker's hands, the gallery,
but that itself exonerates him. That if he can even challenge the leadership, and the Constitutional Court says yes, then he's...
Even when the Constitutional Court or the Supreme Court says anything, I can tell you, there is no way, I'm now telling you now, there is no way a member of parliament who is selected as a commissioner, whose main role is to protect the interests of members of parliament, not NUP, not what all members of parliament, can come to a constituency and abuse me. And you think that person can come back to parliament where we all sit and be allowed to be a commissioner? He will never. That I can assure you. There is no way whether NUP selects Zake again. Let me just give me.
So you're preempting.
I'm not preempting anything. I'm telling you that there is a court ruling.
And the court matter. It's still.
And the court, yes. And I think there is an appeal. That means once there is an appeal, he cannot be commissioner. However, his term of office ends this December.
Technicality, maybe.
Yes, his term of office ends this December. All for commissioners, and in next January we shall have new commissioners being brought to the floor of parliament,
Okay.
there is no way the floor of parliament can allow a name of Zake to be supported.
Thank you.
As a commission.
Finally, in just 1 minute, are you, because you said it, you said these incidents really tell of the caliber of the MPs we have in that house.
Yeah, some of them.
Are you really concerned about that?
I am.
Is it a huge concern?
I am, because at one time, one of the MPs wanted to bring a motion that a member of parliament should have a minimum level of a degree, but on top of that, they should have looked at the exposition of this particular MP. It was failing in a number of aspects.
The charities, the human rights activists of this world will step in.
They will step in and say no, and that this cannot. Then, but later on, they will again come here and say the MPs are shaming us when they know that some of them, really, the exposition is not supposed to. They are not supposed to be on the floor of parliament.
Doctor, the parliament has strict, has a strict code of conduct that ensures harmony and decorum in parliament. But we have seen it often. They violate it, do what they fight in front of cameras. What do you make of this?
Actually, when this matter happened, I was following parliament, and I went ahead to go and read the rules of procedure, particularly the code of conduct of members of parliament. But on the rules of procedure, I first read rule, was it 81, that talks about defamation. That if a committee chairperson believes a member has been defamed, or the speaker believes so, then this matter can be referred. But for me, according to the rule, it refers to matters before, in the proceedings of parliament. Yes, but now, we have so many fights. Like me, if you go to Bugisu, if we have a Bugisu meeting and there are 3 MPs when they are not around, no decision will take place. Nandala, Nambeshe, and Musida. Or sometimes they can end up fighting amongst themselves. But those matters end where? In Mbale. They don't come back to parliament. So if you find a situation where a political leader of another political party goes to your constituency and defames you, I think under the laws, Charity will tell us in the courts of law, there are offenses of defamation, where you must go and prove that we are indeed defamed, and then you may be awarded damages or forth. So for me, bringing every conflict to parliament, I think wastes the time of parliament. And of course, we are alive to the recent ruling where the Constitutional Court ruled that the matter between the Speaker and Zake seemed to be more personal, not something that would use the institution of parliament to fight personal wars. Therefore, I believe that matter was not necessary to be referred to that committee, and maybe time will tell whether it was the right decision or not. But for me, as a citizen of Uganda, what am I interested in? The code of conduct of members of parliament is very strict. One, the oath of allegiance, that you swear to protect, defend, and promote the Constitution of Uganda, and to pay allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, implying that when you are in that house, whatever you do, whether you have gone to investigate something, it must be Uganda first. And so you pay attention to that, not to the leaders, not to the ministers, but Ugandans first. 2, the role, the important duty of an MP to fight corruption. That is very key. That
And it is even in their rules.
Yes, the code of conduct. 3, that an MP should not receive money to influence the decisions that they take on the floor of parliament. Then the other, an MP cannot become an advocate of a lobbyist group or in the same house.
Is that happening in your case, in your judgment?
We have seen allegations, and some of them, some people have not denied. I remember when we had the constitutional term limit removal.
Yeah, 2017.
Constitutional term limit.
That is 2007.
5 million. That's when the bribery allegations started in parliament. One MP, I quote, Honorable Kahindo Tafire, was that time on the Capital gang of Capital. And then he told Norbert Mao that you wanted me to take this money to the constituency, are they the ones who are going to vote in the parliament? I brought it, sir, we drank it, we drink it with you. Exactly. So to him, he admitted he received, and he had not to take it to the constituency, it was to be utilized here. So that is all. So me, I want that parliament to leave to these issues.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I now imagine a scenario where we have two MPs and we have them in parliament. One is the husband, another one is the wife. Now they have their domestic issues at home, they bring them.
I have to correct this.
Because they are MPs.
I have to correct this. As a member of parliament, I have to correct this. Whether that was majorly personal or not. This was on a political mobilization rally. And without these MPs there, they were not there. And then somebody goes and is a commissioner who is supposed to protect the interest of the MPs. And in fact, that matter was brought in not because Zake is just a mere MP, but Zake is a protector.
So you say that Zake is answerable to what happened?
Yes, because he cannot do such a thing when he is a commissioner.
Thank you. Charity,
and he was attacking these people just because they are MPs. Not a personal matter that husband or wife. Not like this one, we are in Bugisu, we MPs, we are there, we are fighting. Yesterday we were in the Bukeni caucus, we disagree. We cannot bring that to
the house.
To the house. But this is a person who is a commissioner, who has gone to my constituency.
A commissioner has been chased from his position illegally.
The Constitutional Court has reinstated him.
My suspicion, and you'll forgive me for that, I apologize, is that Honorable Chinyamatama will capitalize on the differences between the leadership of Parliament and Zake, possibly to get her way through.
In the rules, once the matter has been referred there, and considering the Constitutional Court ruling, the chairperson and the committee members we shall be very cautious.
The same committee that was implicated in corruption, in that case of Zake and all other things.
It shall be cautious in regard to taking what decision.
But Zake will go to that committee really. Anyway, Charity, you have 5 minutes, please. Make your submission on what you think the conduct of members and Parliament as a whole to you is like.
You know, interestingly, yesterday for the first time, Canada got a black speaker.
Wow.
And they congratulated him and said, we want to congratulate you that we have a black man as the speaker of our house for the first time. And he said, a speaker is just a referee. The actual people who do the debate are the Parliament House itself. But for me, I should show no side on which I fall.
Because I'm black or white.
And I want to carry the same words and ask if the current speakers think they are simply referees, or sometimes the public perceives them as having taken a side and want to protect their personal interests above the interests of Uganda and above the interests of other members of Parliament. Because you see, political questions sometimes will not be answered by institutions. Zake is a politician by and by, and all those MPs are politicians in that house. And I think listening to the Honorable, she said an attack on a woman is an attack on all of us all. And another statement she made, which was correct, was that we should not protect evil. But when she was making those statements, she was saying, I am hurt. It was about her. She was looking for how to get justice from a situation that had happened outside Parliament on the floor of Parliament. Is that correct in as far as the rules of Parliament are concerned? From what you've heard from Dr. Werihe, I want to leave it to the public to judge. The truth is, according to the rules you've just had, you should not come to settle personal scores on the floor of Parliament. That said, most certainly we have heard what Honorable Mugole here has said. He said, one, if you're a commissioner of Parliament, there's a certain decorum you have to carry with yourself.
Exactly.
And that Honorable Zake, his politics has been politics of attacking the president, the person of the president, and attacking the person of people within the NRM government. Now, politics of personal attack and not issues is a dangerous type of politics. And I think I want to underscore that for us as Ugandans. So it doesn't matter whether you're opposition or whether you're government. The thing is, can you always articulate issues without attacking the person? Because we are all human beings.
Good.
Okay? We all get angry. I would be angry if you attacked me personally for what I am. And I think that is where the Honorable Member of Parliament was coming from to say what she said. But then, was the Speaker right to seem to take side with an emotionally charged Parliament, which has the majority NRM, saying, I show the video and the eyes have it, send it to the disciplinary committee? Was the Speaker being a referee in this instance? The Speaker looked very biased to any ordinary eye, to even an eye that wants to see it from a very balanced point of view. The Speaker should have handled this a bit differently. Now, it looks like the NRM group or members of Parliament who are already big in number, 429 of them almost are NRM. We have 500 something MPs, but 400 are all NRM. So now from the look, from the public look, it looks like as if the 400 sat to agree to say, you know what, enough is enough, let's get rid of another opposition person from Parliament.
Do you find the conduct of Honorable Zake also questionable? Because he may be right in doing what, like the court exonerated him, but do you find his conduct somehow questionable?
Not somehow, very, very questionable. I have said, in politics, he might be opposition. He has his position and nobody rejects his opinion and his position. But why attack a person?
Thank you.
Why should I talk about you because you're brown, you're tall, you're white, or like many times he has actually attacked the president. If it were possible, just speak all his clips on the attack of the president, play them.
Okay.
And then you as a human being, you also put yourself in the legs of the president and think, how would I react if it were me? Actually, if he was in another country, he probably would not be living, or maybe he would be in prison, or there would be something drastic which has happened to him. But so he should also be humane in the way he's presenting.
Finally, he says, Major Tim Joel says, does Parliament have administrative officers who can handle such matters that happen outside Parliament? Because not everything that happens outside the House should be brought up on the floor of Parliament, because personal matters should be handled administratively or in courts of law. This business of sorting personal issues on the floor is rendering the House useless. Most of these guys need to go for serious leadership training. This business of behaving like children, reporting everything on camera, oh gosh. Major Tim Joel once again. Thank you so much, and I think that is a final comment from our viewers, because we have to wind up in just 3 minutes. Your parting shot, wait a minute. Hamas is the one who provoked Israel. Let them now face the war. But you didn't give us. They are dying. It's so unfortunate that people are dying, even innocent
children.
I'm sure he commends the show. He said it's awesome. Hamas should have talked to some Ugandans who witnessed the 90-minute at Entebbe.
All of them, they are honorees.
We only have 4 minutes or 3 minutes. I want across the panel to tell us what can be the solution to this questionable conduct of and the integrity of Parliament, which is at risk. I start with you, Doctor. Just one.
I think what should be the solution is that we get back to the rules of procedure, because they are very clear, very comprehensive, and then they actually talk even about the behavior of the presiding officer. Yes, how should the speaker and the deputy act when they're in that seat. So if we go back to the rules, that will be okay.
So the same MPs who should be exemplary in leadership, even themselves violate the rules.
No, but there is a new concept we have recently. We are calling it kumanyoko politics in Uganda. It has gained traction that when you abuse, you insult the person of people, who they slept with, where they slept, then you become attractive to the public.
Thank you.
But this is wrong. Even Honorable Zake should do self-examination, because you can't be you all the time.
I will hear from Charity and then finish the show with Honorable, because you, Honorable, you are directly implicated in this whole issue.
So I think that Parliament should go back to legislating for the public, for public interest, and for the interests of Ugandans. But also we should see the speakers behave like previous speakers. The Honorable Rebecca Kadaga had her own issues as a human being, and sometimes she tilted, and but she tried to balance the act. And you can now see the total difference between her leadership and the leadership right now, and even the leadership of the late Olanya.
Yeah.
And the leadership of other speakers that were there before the late Olanya and Rebecca Kadaga. So I think that it would be a good thing for the current leadership of Parliament to also think about these issues. Sometimes when the emotion is too high, can you pull back from the emotion, pull yourself out of it, and then think soberly what should be done. But the members of Parliament, even from NUP, I think there is need for decency.
We
can articulate
Honorable,
issues while
you only have 1 minute, please.
Yeah, number one, Parliament is doing the legislative work very well. By the 11th Parliament.
When they are violating the same rules, they
now you have 1 minute.
Go right ahead.
They are doing the legislative work very well, and I can tell you on record, no Parliament has passed more acts or
some without quorum.
With or without, it is 11th Parliament.
Okay.
So it is doing that work well. One thing is that no such matter should come to the floor of Parliament before it is looked at administratively, because it will bring in such issues. But for the speakers, I'm not supposed to comment about speakers because the leadership of Parliament. But the only thing I can do generally is that you are saying Kadaga was PAB. Kadaga was deputy speaker for 10 years and speaker for 10 years. So 20 years experience.
Wow.
The speakers we have today are 2 years experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, our viewers. Thank you so much for your time. That was it, the big show, The Dialogue. Will return next Saturday at 10. Thank you so much for your comments and observations. I must thank my panel, Dr. Gerard Weriwanzara, Honorable Stephen Mugore, and Charity Ahimsiwe. Thank you so much. Let's catch up next Saturday, gentlemen and lady. And I must say, good afternoon and a good weekend ahead.
Soul Television, Femunyo.